And folks, here we go.
It's time now for the latest news on what's hot and what's not in the world of technology with Mathew Dickerson on Tech Talk. Here on TCFM 88.9.
Morning, Matthew. How are you?
He still hasn't asked for royalties yet, has he?
No, he hasn't. Hasn't asked for royalties at all. The mysterious voice for Tech Talk. Tech Talk. A serious one this week, and a good one. Actually, a judge in Melbourne allows a Melbourne dentist to try a new tactic to more quickly unmask a negative online reviewer. Now, this dentist apparently had one person say they couldn't whiten his teeth or something or other, and what happened from there?
Yeah, look, he had a negative review and he believed it cost him a lot of money. And he had some positive reviews, a lot of positive reviews now. But you can imagine if you go along to a dentist and you look up some reviews and you see one negative story, you don't want that to be someone working on your teeth. It's not something you can go and fix up easily. I'll just go back and get that replaced. Yeah. So it cost him business. The problem was the user that made the negative comment was CSM23. So no one knew who that was. Yeah. And he actually went to Google and said, I'd like to know who that is. And they said no. So now there's a legal process in place where they're trying to make Google reveal who that person is behind there because he wants to sue that person for defamation. And the interesting part about this is not only, and so I think this will be successful. I think Google will be made to show who it is. And Facebook's in the same boat. They're basically the same laws apply. But not only is it going to be something where people won't be able to hide behind something anonymous, there are people out there who create multiple accounts to try and influence decisions or influence opinions. And so part of this process is that people that have got multiple IP addresses, this will also reveal that. So if someone suspects there's from multiple IP addresses that are being used by one person, in other words, one person creating lots of accounts under one IP address, not multiple IP, sorry, then that will actually reveal those multiple accounts that might be all created from the one location. So that'll be interesting as well. The bottom line is, though, that both Google and Facebook have said, we're not just going to hand out users' names and users' details, but if anyone from a legal perspective comes and knocks on our door, then yes, we will hand that information over.
And I mean, quite frankly, there are people around the place at the present time who have multiple accounts to try and influence people in many, many areas. And one particular area is the political area, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely right. And there have been cases where they've found out that people have actually used multiple accounts. There's been various parties, political parties, that have used multiple accounts to try and influence opinions. There've been competitors in business. If someone doesn't like your business, rather than try and be better than your business, sometimes they'll go and create multiple accounts and put lots of negative reviews on there. So there are lots of devious ways that people are using social media. But hopefully, if this is all successful, which I think it will be, then I think we'll see potentially that reduce a little bit because people know that they may be found out. And I don't know that you'd be that popular if, for example, you were in a political party or you were in a competitive business environment and suddenly it was found out that you were creating multiple accounts and trying to influence opinion or try and damage one of your competitors.
Exactly, and you'd be seen as a hoaxer.
Yeah.
It might happens in the dental area. I know it happens in the medical area as well. Doctors fighting against doctors.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I've seen evidence of that. Okay, moving right along, malware and viruses on Mac. Now, Mac have been naughty with this, haven't they? They've been very naughty people.
Not really naughty people, but the Mac or Apple in the past was seen as one of the computers that didn't get viruses. And it was almost a subtle advertising campaign from Apple many years ago where they would say, basically, buy a Mac and don't have all those virus attacks. Now, the reality is that an Apple Mac can be attacked by someone writing viruses in just the same way as a Windows PC can be. The difference was if I'm sitting at home in my darkened bedroom and plotting against the world, then Apple Mac only had maybe 5 or 10% market share and Windows PCs had, say, 85 to 90% market share, then I'm not going to try and take over the world with 10%. I'm going to try and take over the world with 90%. So I was going to write a virus and do something dastardly with that virus for those 85 to 90% of PCs out there. Now that Apple Mac's market share has increased, suddenly virus attacks have increased, and so it's gone up by 400% over the last year, detections of viruses on Apple Mac computers. So that's really interesting, and again, that's a reflection, that's kind of almost a compliment to Apple in some way, because it means effectively that they're getting greater market share.
I suppose so. All right. Okay. I can't believe that Puerto Rico, the Puerto Rican government, has been ripped off by a scam. Now, I got scammed myself on Friday. I realised what was happening very quickly and rang the fraud people on Saturday morning early, around 6:30. They were there, they answered, and my credit card's been cancelled, boom. Fortunately, hadn't been attacked because I think this was an American scam or a Nigerian scam, and the time difference, they're still in bed. So I was lucky.
Well, and Puerto Rico government, you're right, $3.8 million they've lost. Now, it is an indication that it's a whole range of different people. Scammers don't really care. They don't really care if it's Richard Button or the Puerto Rico government. They just want to try and get some money out of people illegally. That's right. And what they fell for, and when I say fell for, it's probably a bit harsh on them. It's very easy to fall for it. It's the classic phishing email scam. If someone sends you an email and says, oh, by the way, I've changed my bank details, that invoice that you've got there, can you pay into this account? Most people say, oh, okay, that's fair enough. I'll pay that money to that account, so no problems at all. So that's exactly what happened with the Puerto Rico government. There was an invoice there waiting to be paid, obviously a large invoice, $3.8 million, and the details were sent through, please change your bank details, and away you go. Now, there are other stories that I know associated with this one where the same things happened to, say, a tradie, $11,000 bill, the tradesman did the work, the company that he did the work for, they will send an email, please change my details, $11,000 gone. Now, I'm not here to give legal advice, but I'm really intrigued about where you legally stand. If you invoice me and then you get an invoice or an email that says change bank details and the invoice is paid, well, one person's paid the money, the other person's done the invoicing, where does the liability stand? I don't want to pay a bill twice. No. You haven't received your money. So it's a really interesting scenario from a legal perspective. I don't know where that stands.
No, neither do I. But I, as you say, you've done the right thing by paying the money, except the wrong person got it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
exactly.
So, and sometimes it could be someone's gotten into the person sending the bill, their account, hacked their account, or it might even be the receiver that's had their account hacked because they've actually been able to see that invoice and replicate that invoice.
9:27, DCFM 88.9, Mathew Dickerson with Tech Talk. Finally, Matt, wind turbines in remote parts of Western Australia. This is a great story.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yes. The mining community is getting green. I love it. Yeah. So the Agnew mine in Western Australia, it's about 640 kilometres northeast of Perth. They've actually had some unreliability in power problems. So they're not doing this to be the greenest mining company ever. They're actually doing it because they want to be have a more reliable power supply. And when the power supply has gone down in the past, they've estimated that the cost to the particular company or that mine has been in the order of millions of dollars because they've had to shut down production. So they're putting in a number of turbines that'll supply consistently about 60% of their power. Now the wind, normally when you put wind farms in, you put them along the coast where there's a constant sea breeze, or in areas like Badangra where you've got some hills around the area. So you're normally aiming for an average speed around 12 metres per second. This particular area has only got 7.5 metres per second, a long way from the coast, very flat, as you can imagine, out in WA, but they've actually put larger turbines, about 66 metre long blades, so huge blades on these wind turbines, but they're confident that this now will solve their unreliable power problem. And it's an indication of what's happening in the mining industry. There are another 5 mines across WA at the moment that have got mainly solar, but a mix of solar and wind supplying power for their mining operations. Yeah. So forget about government initiatives, government incentives or leadership. Individual businesses, companies are just taking the lead and doing what they need to do to make sure they've got good, reliable power supply, and obviously there's cost savings there.
Well, the motivation, of course, is the bottom line. Always is the bottom line. And oh dear, I forgot to turn my phone off, and it's the usual DCFM thinger, and it won't. I'll answer it. Just leave it there.
That's right.
Oh, look, happens.
Live radio, don't you love it?
Live radio, you have it and you forget to turn your phone off. It's a very nice person who's rung me. I hope they're listening. They'll wait. Matt, always good talking with you, Tech Talk, and we'll catch up with you next Wednesday morning.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Matt. And sorry about the phone call. You can edit that out if you like. Mathew Dickerson and Tech Talk this morning. It's bang on 9:30. This is DCFM 88.9, and this. Bon Jovi, we're going out in a blaze of glory. We certainly are indeed after that phone call.